Business Insights on Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson.
The leadership gap often traps high performers in middle management due to a lack of executive presence, influence, and strategic skills needed to advance. Breaking through requires shifting from task-focused excellence to mastering visibility, decision-making, and relationship building with senior leaders. My guest, Jennifer Jensen, is going to share with us how emerging leaders can embrace authenticity to elevate skills and break through middle management. Jennifer is an authentic leader herself, and she transforms leaders into authentic selves through one-on-one advisory, leadership programs, and psychometric tools delivering measurable, transformational results. Addressing the leadership crisis where most encounter few exceptional leaders, her engaging, evidence-based approach equips next-generation leaders with self-awareness and collaboration skills for complex business environments. As author of Developing Authentic Leaders, Jennifer leverages her experience leading high accountability teams without formal authority to develop emerging managers and directors. Her practical strategies bridge critical leadership gaps, fostering influence and growth. Jennifer, that certainly was a mouthful, but please, I'd love to welcome you to Talking with the Experts. I am really excited to get you to share what you know about being authentic leaders.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. What brought you to this way of doing business? Why did you choose this pathway?
So the reason I chose it was because of being a project manager for many years and mentoring individuals and advising leaders. I found there was a huge gap and there wasn't really anybody filling it, and organizations weren't recognizing the middle managers and what they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially since I was one of them. And so I wanted to bring that to the forefront, and that's why I wrote the book and why I started the company Authentic Leader.
Yeah, middle managers are often the forgotten mix in the team, really, aren't they? I mean, I was a middle manager at one time, and you get the juniors are looked after, and the shop floor people are looked after, and the high executives are looked after. But the middle management are the ones that are doing all the delegating and doing all the work, and get very little recognition for what they do.
Oh, totally. And what's really sad too is that middle managers, they're used to being the subject matter expert, and now they're having to change their mindset. And how do they do that? Especially in these environments where they're not getting the leadership training or support that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can we develop an executive presence? So high performance, they need to learn how to cultivate confidence and strategic communication and visibility to stand out. How do they do that?
So they've got to start changing their mindset, which is one of the hardest things to do. And they've got to start seeing themselves as a business architect who sees the interconnections across all the functions, not just what they were normally doing beforehand as the subject matter expert. They should be delegating that now. And so it's changing your mindset and starting to look at the broader picture.
Mm.
And then you also need to start to get comfortable with ambiguity and navigating that and understanding your stakeholders.
Mm. Yeah, and that can always be challenging, when you're dealing with a mixed bag of people, and different personalities, and different skill sets, and all those sorts of things. And I think to be a manager is not necessarily, I think you need to be more of a leader, or learn to be a leader. How do we go about
Yes.
doing that? It's not an easy transition from being a manager to a leader.
No, and the biggest thing and foundationally is becoming more self-aware. And that's understanding who you are, why you respond the way you do, so that you can be more effective. And then also you can understand your team and then start to build your team if you understand them. and why they're responding the way they do. And so I use psychometric tools to support that. And that way we can understand who you are. Like insight, there's insight and disc. I use Lumina Learning. And so we do the four colors, like those other ones. And then we take it down to 8 characteristics and then down to 24 qualities. And then we look at those 24 qualities when you're most comfortable at home, when you're at work, your everyday, and what you present to the world, and then when you're overextended. And
Mm.
then when you're overextended, we start to do a journey to composure so that you can understand why you respond the way you do, and then how you can change some of your behaviors.
It's interesting, these psychometric tools that are used like DISC, and I've not heard of the one that you just mentioned. Could you tell me a little bit more about that one?
So I did a lot of research before I got qualified in it. And what I love about it is that they make no assumptions about who you are. And they don't dictate what is the right answer or what you should be. And for example, they'll say, and you're 75% extrovert and 55% introvert. They're not going to make you go 100% in these two areas or in those other 8 characteristics. They allow it to be assumption free and you are putting who you are. And
Mm.
I've asked at all my sessions, how accurate is this? What would you rate this percentage wise? And it's usually around 90%.
And what's the name of it?
Lumina Learning is the organization, and they do Lumina Spark and Lumina Leadership and 360 and Lumina Motion. And there's Sales Select, different software that are different programs that I haven't got qualified on, but I'm working on those.
Wonderful. So we need to learn how to master influence without authority. So how can we learn the critical skill of influencing others through, using our persuasive skills, our active listening, and aligning with organizational goals?
So to influence, you listed one of them right off the bat is active listening, sitting there and being present and actually listening to the individual, and also bringing them into situations where they are the ones telling you what things are going to happen. I did this with project management time and time again on every project where I would bring in all the subject matter experts and get them to tell me what their timelines would be so that I wasn't dictating to them. And that way I could hold them accountable because they gave me the information.
Mm.
And so you've just got to use different tools to get the team in there so that they feel like they're part of it. And then you're influencing your team. And if you want to influence your senior managers, then you've got to start showing that you are strategic, you've got the big picture, you're creating a mission, vision, values for your team that align with the organization overall. And you can also pick up strategic projects so that you can show that you are a valued and a hidden gem within the organization.
Yeah, that's really important. We often forget that we are, as middle managers, the hidden gem within the team. And I love your strategy about making the team come to you to tell you what their plans are, rather than you dictating how the project should go. That way, that they have to be accountable for their own actions, don't they?
Totally. And it's fun to watch the team realize after you've done those sessions where you've had them tell you, and then you go, okay, well, you told me that you were going to get this done by this point. And they're like, wait a second, what? Yeah, I did. And then they're like, oh crap, I have to get this done now.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's a way of, again, as a good leader, is letting your team take control of the situation, and using their own influence to get things done.
Definitely. And food helps too, just because I've worked with teams where they were really far behind. And in order to get them to get back on track with the project, I told them if they could do it within 2 weeks, I would buy them pizza or whatever they wanted for lunch. And I didn't expect them to do it, but they did it.
It's interesting. Places I used to work, they used to bring sweets, like lollies, candies,
Yeah.
and you'd have a bowl on your desk, and you could just eat as you wished, and there was never it would never run out, so you could just go and fill up your bowl again, and it seemed to that sugar rush, I think, and just the fact that the organisation was doing something even that small, um, brought about a sense of belonging, I think.
Totally. And I do that even with my own organizations is bring in a whole bunch and I try and find different unique candies and put it in there so that they can go and try whatever they like.
Mm, yeah, I'd one of the shops I need to go and visit is there's an American lolly store here somewhere. I'm going to find it because I miss some of the things like the Valentine's Day little cinnamon hearts. I miss those as
Oh
I
yeah.
used to love those as a child, and I'm going to go and find some more.
Well, maybe I'll send you some.
That would be great. Yeah, I love them. Okay, so a really great question is, how do we avoid burnout as a middle manager? Because it is such a, you've got the people from senior management, and then you've got the people that are managing upwards. How do we avoid burnout, and what are some practical strategies that we can use?
I think the key is being aware of how you're responding at home. Are you angry all the time and understanding that? And how tired are you? And that flows into your office because it is coming from your office and your work environment. And so it's being aware of what's happening around you and how you're responding to situations. And once you've identified that, then it's you need to start setting boundaries and saying, okay, I at certain point have to shut down. I can't keep going. And so you have to maybe even talk to your leader and say, I can't keep going at this pace. We've got to do something about it. And having those conversations, I do it for myself personally and professionally, where I will say at a certain point at the time of day, I'm shutting off my technology because I don't need to be contacted right now. I need time out for myself so that I can be more effective tomorrow and the days ahead.
Yeah, it's really important to take some self-care time, I think. Doesn't matter what level of
Yes.
management you are, or what type of
No.
leader you are. It's really important to shut off the phones and the computers and the laptops and the anything that's to do with technology, and just sit in your office and just deep breathe for 1 or 2 minutes even is enough time sometimes just to get you back on track. And it's a pity really that more organisations don't allow that to happen, where people are allowed to leave their desk and take that self-care time. People are just expected to be at their desk for the 8 or 9 hours that they're employed for.
Totally. And it's the world did change for a while where we had the hybrid model and we seem to be going back to we want people in their seats at the office. And that's unfortunate because a lot of people were very, very productive at home because they had that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's happening here too. Like a lot of bigger organisations demanding that people are bums on seats in the office. But some of the states here have actually legislated that work from home is allowed for 2 days a week, and they're stopping organisations from making people go back to the office full time. And I think that's a great strategy on their part, because work from home, you're right, people were more productive because they were more relaxed.
Yeah. And they
Mm,
can they're not interrupted all the time. I do understand going back to the office part-time because you miss those hallway conversations.
mm,
And
mm,
some people aren't productive.
mm.
But that's where organizations need to set the processes and the requirements if you are going to work from home so that you have a standard going forward.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that organisations set those standards from the outset of onboarding anyone, and and make sure that they're understood. And if you're allowed to work from home for 2 or 3 days a week, make sure that that you're not putting on the nanny cam all the time, to make sure that that their mouse strokes and their keystrokes are not monitored, because I think that's really terrible. I think that's an invasion of privacy.
Totally. And so if you don't trust your team, then do you have the right team? But one of the big things I would say is everybody needs to have their cameras on when you're in meetings so that we can have those conversations and see each other, because that's how you're going to connect. But measuring their keystrokes, that's way beyond. Then you have other issues.
Of course you do. And, someone might not be productive for a little bit of time because, something might have happened at home. One of their kids might have fallen down or something and hurt themselves. And you can't, there's got to be some leeway allowed for those sorts of eventuations, I guess.
Totally. And if you're going to do that, then you're not going to have a team that is going to be loyal or trustworthy. They're not going to trust you, and they're not going to care. And
Absolutely.
Is that really what you want?
No, I wouldn't want that in my organisation if I had one. It's for fact. Now, Jennifer can be found on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and her website, stcdn.leadconnecthq.com.
No. It's actually at authenticleader.ca.
Oh, right. Okay. I will put that in the show notes, and people can find you at that website. And also your book is available, Authentic Leaders Practical Guide, on Amazon. Tell us a little bit about what's in the book, Jennifer.
So this is a very different book. I did it all in bullet points. So it's not a lot of paragraphs, and I did 52 topics and each topic is 2 to 3 pages max, so that you could work on each topic once, like every week. You can pick a new one, and you can do it with yourself, accountability partner, or with your team if you want to develop them. And it's just looking at, I have it broken down in several sections. One is your understanding yourself, and then understanding what an authentic leader characteristics are. There's a section on communication and how to influence your team and how to build your team. And then tidbits of what could break leaders that most leaders don't do. And that's like your mission, vision, values.
Sounds interesting. All right, people, head over to Amazon and find out all about Developing Authentic Leaders Practical Guide by Jennifer Jensen, and give it a whirl. Is it available on Kindle as well, or just written?
No, it's on Kindle as well.
Wonderful. So head on over to Amazon and grab a copy. Jennifer, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing with us how leaders can emerge and embrace authenticity. And hopefully our viewers and listeners have got some value out of it and will turn around their middle management goals into something that is shiny and perfect.
Thank you for having me on your show, Rose.
Bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time.